Hey, what's going on? We got Keelia Scott here, trained by day, and it's Amazon by night, hot off a night shift. Keelia, how are you today?
I'm really good. A little bit tired, obviously, but I'm good. Thanks.
It's great to have you here. And you know what? I really enjoyed hearing some of your life story. You are probably, and listen, we've heard a lot of different stuff from these fighters about how busy they are. I'm doing two a days. You're doing two a days, 6 days a week. You are, I believe, volunteering for the Civilian Air Cadets, local ferret rescue, nearly finished your PhD, done a lot of crazy stuff in life. You sound incredibly busy.
Yeah, I'm really bad when I'm bored. I don't like being bored, so I have to fill every minute of my day. It's got to the point now that sleeping is as much a sport as anything else. Um, I'm like, it's become a real skill. It turns out when you work night shifts, you get very good at just filling in sleep whenever you can. Yeah.
Why fighting?
Um, it was nothing that I'd never even considered it before. I came into it really late. When I started my PhD, it was 24, and I was just looking for a physical outlet. I'd become so obsessed with my academic work. I'd kind of let myself go. I wasn't fit. I wasn't the sort of person that I really knew myself to be. I'd just kind of become. I was doing. You'll notice that this is a theme. I was doing sort of 16, 18 hours days in the office, eating junk out of the drawer next to me, just to get through. And I looked in the mirror one day and was like, this isn't me. This is not who I am. I'd always been fit. I'd always done sport as a kid. And I was looking around and there was just this taster session for kickboxing. Thought, oh, I've always fancied trying a martial art. I always want to try something new. I want to learn something new. And I just went along. It was 10 1 hour sessions that they were doing and fell in love instantly. Just was like, how have I never tried this before? This is absolutely my thing because it's such a mix of physical challenge. I've never done a sport or activity that's got me as fit as fighting has. Um, and at the same time, there's a big mental component to it, not just mentally challenging, but there's a lot of thought that goes into it. There's a lot of strategy. I'm a thinker. Some say, my coaches say I think too much when I'm fighting, but I can apply concepts and ideas when I'm fighting and in kickboxing and in training, and use both my brain and my body at the same time. And it's just since then, I've not looked back.
What are the concepts and ideas that you found so attractive in martial arts?
I just I really love thinking about movement, relations. I'm a physicist. That's my background. So it's all momentum and angles and um, how you're moving in relation to each other, um, making the most of other people's momentum, their weight shift, all those things. There's so many little things that you can think about all the time, judging where you are in relation to everything else. Also, it's just putting certain moves together, making sure you're being as efficient as possible with your movements, tying combinations together so it flows smoothly and you're not fighting against your body. You're using your body. You're using the physics to your advantage, and I love that. Quite often, you'll find me we'll discuss a combination. Either on one of my one-on-ones or a class, and I'll be stood in the corner and I'll go, yeah, that makes sense. And then I do it a couple of times and I'll be okay at it the first time. And then I go home and I have this thing. It's always been during my PhD. I go and stand in the shower and there's this thing where it suddenly clicks in my brain. And the second it's in my brain, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've got this. This concept works. Come back. And the next time I do it, I understand why it works from a physics point of view, and I go, okay, now I can apply it. That's how this works. So the first few times I'm utterly awful, and just give me. Sometimes it can be 5 minutes. Usually it's yeah, go home, have a shower, and I go, okay, yeah, brain's had a chance to process that side of it. Okay, I know why this works. I know how it works. I can apply it. Which yeah, is just a great. It's a great skill. I think the physics has really contributed. Um, it's an advantage that I have, that I'm a bit older. I'm a fair bit older than most of the rest of the team. And, you know, all these young guys who are 10, 12 plus years, my junior, and they've got all this energy and things, and they bounce around like lunatics. And I'm like, no, I need to be more efficient than that. Let's apply what I have, you know, what my skills are to this.
I've got a confession here. You know, the shower thing. I'm exactly the same. I hate to go to the shower here, right? But there is something weird about like when because you're busy, much in the same way I am between personal and professional pursuits and this, that, and the other. I'm the same. Like if I'm not doing stuff, I'm not staying. I feel like, I don't know, and maybe this is something that you get because I also am trying to finish my PhD right now. You kind of go down the rabbit hole and you feel like your engine, if you've got an engine that wants to rev to 8,000 or 9,000 RPMs, like you want to be able to exercise that engine. You do want to go in deep on stuff. Like I could never live my life just sitting at 3,000 RPMs of monotony for forever, right? And you go away and you sit in the shower at night or wherever where you that moment where you kind of have nothing else to do in there but wash yourself and get ready for bed, and you disconnect from everything else around you, and you do go back to the things that you visited, whether it was a concept in martial arts that I was studying because I work in broadcast primarily, and the amount of tape and preparation and conceptual studies that we do for that is not dissimilar, I'd imagine, to the approach you're taking to learn yourself. And I feel like it brings me back to something a high school English teacher told us when we were looking at like some crazy esoteric text. He's like a pig in mud. You have to sit in it and then you'll wallow in it and it will come to you. It might not come to you in this 1 hour today about one of Hamlet's soliloquies or, transcendentalism. I think we read about, was it Walden Pond and Henry David Thoreau? I don't know what the hell it was, but I didn't understand it at the time. But you walk away and you need that time depending on your personality. And then all of a sudden you have a revelation, and all of a sudden it'll become a note in your phone, right? And you might
Yeah.
go and try it the next day. I don't know. I don't know if every fighter is like that, but I have to imagine because I can say in my own case, it has been an advantage. Do you think it's an advantage for you?
Yeah, I really think it is that ability to just step away and process. Um, I think really helps. I have a tendency then to think too much when I'm training sometimes, but I'm learning that's one of the big things that I've learned from this in this camp is just to trust my instincts. Now that I've once I've got it down, I got it. Um, so I'm very much once I understand something, whether it's physics or it's fighting, I know it. I'm not going to forget it. It's in there. Okay, you from a muscle memory point of view, you're going to practice it over and over, but I'm not going to forget that it's in there. It's not going to slip away. Yeah, with the physics with the PhD, it was a lot of equations written on shower doors.
Right,
When you
right. The
suddenly
struggle
go,
is real.
and like writing in the steam, going, I've got nowhere to write it down right now. If I write it in the steam, hopefully
Yeah,
it won't have disappeared by the time I get out of the shower.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much like that. My brain doesn't switch off particularly well. That's a skill that I had to learn at one point, to switch off enough to be able to sleep, which might be another reason why I like such hard physical activity, because at least if I'm physically tired, I
Yep.
will eventually fall asleep,
It's the same.
because my
It's the
brain
same.
doesn't stop.
Exactly. I'm
Um,
exactly the same. I feel like we have like so much in common. We never even met. But no, like how do we as overthinkers who are these people that are designed, because everybody has different things that give them, I think, an advantage in approaching a very complex, nuanced sport, an individual sport like martial arts, no matter which style you're pursuing, whether it's MMA or whether it's being pure grappler or whatever. Like how do we overcome that? How do we find this the other end of the dichotomy of action, of implementation? Like where have you found that seesaw and how have you balanced that thing out?
I've it's difficult. I've found that part of my personality is um, I'm I'm quite calm in stressful situations. I've been in several quite serious situations, sort of on the border of life and death, either for myself or other people. And in some ways, I think I'm lucky that I do tend to just flick a switch. And part of it, I think, is a self confidence. Some of it comes with sort of Asian experience. I think that you can switch and rely yourself on automatic to run on automatic. I think it's several years of actual physically learning how to switch off. Meditation was a real skill I was really bad at for a long time, and I had to teach myself. I, to be honest, I had a lot of anxiety issues towards the end of my PhD, and I had to find a way. Okay, sport was one way to channel it, and I did, and it made a huge difference. And I think it probably kept me sane. But then I had to deal with the after effects, and part of that is I took the time to learn how to calm things down and steady myself in high adrenaline situations, and actually bring that brain activity down to something where I could process and I could do what needed to be done. Nothing more, nothing less. Just get it done. And sometimes you have to do that. And I think for people who are very high performing, whose brains run on that level, it's a real skill to try and learn, and you usually learn it the hard way. I certainly did, and I think that has done me wonders. While I'd never want to wish the situation that got me there on anybody, the result, I can't complain about that ability that's come out of it. So yeah.
I think a lot of people would be keen to know about some of the situations. I know from speaking to you before we started this, like you mentioned the sled dog experience when you're in, was it Norway?
In Sweden, in the end, yeah. This was in
In
Sweden.
Sweden, in the Arctic
Yeah,
Circle, right?
yeah, yeah. So, um, as a bit of a career curve, because I can't do anything the simple way, clearly, I decided that I was gonna go train long distance sled dogs in the Arctic. I went out to join a woman who was the British champion at the time, and to train her dogs. I spent 2.5 months out working just above the Arctic Circle, training these dogs. I'd done a week before I went out there, and I'd spent a week doing a sort of introductory training course, and completely fell in love with this, with the sport, with the challenge of it. But it was extreme. It was tough. There is no denying that living a winter, doing 2.5 months in the winter in the Arctic, is extreme on so many levels. There's the cold, the obvious bit, the cold, the snow, the dark. I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do the first feed of 90 dogs that I was looking after. I'd feed all the dogs before I even got a chance to have a cup of tea myself. If I was lucky, someone would bring a cup of tea out to me, so that I didn't, so that I didn't have to stop in order to go around. You're feeding dogs 4 times a day, and then you're taking them training. And yeah, there was a time I found myself on the back of so it was before we got really deep snow, so we weren't on the sleds yet. We were on the back of an ATV, had tracks on, myself and another trainer, and we had 16 dogs attached to this ATV. So they were pulling this, and we're moving fast, following a trail. It's on a map. We've got GPS. We're doing everything right, going along. Of course, it's pitch black. At this point, it was dark by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're in the dark. We've got the headlights on the ATV ahead of us, and you can see the dogs. And we've got a row of 16 dogs, and all of a sudden, 2 dogs in front of us just disappear, and they drop down, and then the next 2 go, and we have the sudden realization that they've gone over the edge, and the bridge in front of us that we were meant to be going over wasn't there anymore. So that moment of, we have to stop these dogs. And if anybody's ever got any experience, seen anything about sled dogs, the hardest part of running sled dogs is getting them to stop.
Yeah.
People think you get this thing that people think it's cruel. You're forcing these dogs to run. You're not forcing these dogs to run. You're forcing these dogs to stop. And it is absolutely the hardest thing. I've been dragged all over the place, left, right, and centre, trying to stop dogs. And we realised that we've got to stop this team. Otherwise, the whole team, and the dogs realistically probably would have been okay. It turns out it was quite a reasonable slope down, and the dog's 4 legs, they're going to manage fairly well. the ATV going over on top was gonna seriously injure us, seriously injure the dogs if it came down on top of them. And we are 10, 15 miles from the nearest house in the middle of the Swedish forest. If we go down here, we hope that one of us is, in a good enough position to get on the phone and try and contact somebody. It's not going to be quick to find us. It's not going to be quick to get to us. It could have easily killed one or both of us and several of the dogs. And we did get it stopped. And then we had to figure out how you get 8 dogs out of a riverbed and back up onto stop and turn them all around on a track that's not much wider than the ATV that we were on. It was, that was scary night. A lot of adrenaline. Don't half get your heart pumping when you're on your way back, and then you're coming down from that and realize that you are shaking, and the I think the crash of that adrenaline is almost as bad as it running in the first place, because everything goes very calm when that adrenaline rush hits in. You just do what you have to. It's only afterwards that you sit back and go, yeah, that could have killed us. Yeah, that could have been really, really bad. So yeah, that was an interesting situation. A bit more dramatic than some of the other stuff that's happened, and equally led to that same understanding of myself. But yeah, that was a fun night. Yeah.
The thing is, it's like these incredibly unforgiving environments, of which the cage is too, that can teach you a great deal about yourself, and it's those things that you carry with you. And when you do realize afterwards, especially when some things go completely out of your own control, and you only have the things that you can control, and the personal preparations, or maybe the key learning and the fundamentals of what you fall back on. It's serious. It's very, very, very serious. Do you think that, like, taking this forward, because you told me, I could have been an astronaut. Maybe if I'd have found this 10 years ago, I might have been doing something entirely different with my life in martial arts. Do you have any expectations for what your first fight will be like? Because it sounds like you've been exposed to some pretty wild things so far.
Yeah, I to a certain extent, I was expecting it to be a complete mess because it's a first fight, and you don't know. I suppose I'm hoping, and I'm relying on the fact that I seem to be one of those people that, yeah, if put in a real tough spot, I have that confidence to rely on the basics. I suspect it's going to go back to real fundamentals of kickboxing. I'm going to take out that front leg so she can't kick me, and I'm going to keep her at a distance. I'm quite a kicker. That's my thing. I've developed my sort of my hands have improved dramatically since I started training here with Supreme. But I really fundamentally it's my legs. I will kick. I will keep someone, good push kick to keep somebody back. Take out that front leg until I know that their legs are not a threat to me. And then all bets are off. But yeah, I suspect it will be. And that's a big thing that we've been drilling, is just to go back to the fundamentals, because what I don't want is that adrenaline to take me too far the other way, make me question what I know I can do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And we don't know who your opponent is yet, but that's the one thing your opponent cannot take away from you, are your fundamentals. It's the basic techniques. It's your cardio, your conditioning. Nobody can take that away. Anything can happen. No. You don't know who you're fighting yet. Does that concern you at all?
To a certain extent, it has bothered me. But in some ways, on the flip side, I think it's probably better that I don't know. I'm not at the point as a fighter that it's worth me going and studying in detail what this fight is like. She's also going to be either her debut or maybe like 1, maybe 2 fights. It's not, we're both not at that point where our fighting IQ is good enough, I think, to really worry. I know what I'm planning to do, and then beyond that, it's just react to what comes. But I've got a solid fundamental plan, and we'll go from there. I've got fancier things I can throw out if I want to, but we'll keep that for maybe we'll keep that for round 3, because that's the one thing I'm not concerned about is my cardio. I have done, and the one thing I know that I have done absolutely everything I can to be ready for this fight. I couldn't put any more time into training. I couldn't put any more time into my cardio, into my fitness. I might be one of the oldest ones here, the oldest one fighting, but I don't think many people would object to me claiming I'm one of the fittest. So that's the thing. Volume wise, I don't see myself having a problem, and I don't see myself having a problem going all 3 rounds if I need to. So that's the aim. So I, not knowing who my opponent is, it's a bit of a shame. I'd like to have that, and I can't wait for that moment of squaring up against them and knowing who it is. But for now,
Yes.
it's not bothering me too much. I know
I
they'll
love
find
it.
somebody. That's the key thing. There will be a
I
fight,
love it.
so we're good.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's like there's some yeah, I would like to know, but I'm okay with not knowing because I know what I'm going to go and do. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to hear. If somebody walked up to you and said, "Hey, Keelia, I've never done this whole martial arts thing. What do you reckon? Should I do it? Would it be a good fit for me?" What would you tell them about your own experience so far?
Absolutely. I could not recommend this, whether you want to go as far as fighting or not. And I had no intentions of ever stepping in the ring or a cage when I started this. It was a fitness thing more than anything else. It was a get out of my head thing. Um, there is so much you can gain from martial arts, whether it's grappling and you're more of a jiu-jitsu sort of person, or it's pure stand-up, or you're going to do the mix of the two as MMA. There are so many things you can learn about yourself, and I think that's the key thing. And at the same time, you want a way of staying fit. I've tried lots of fitness over the years. I've played lots of sports. I've done lots of things. There's nothing like this. And equally, part of going into the fight was to have something to aim for. And again, I think having a challenge, having a goal at all times in your life is just so important for moving forward and growing. That again, this has given me so much. I can't see any downsides to it. And don't get me wrong, I've been injured. It hasn't always been pretty. They laugh at me at work when I come in hobbling some days. I daren't wear a pair of shorts around because somebody's gonna, start questioning why my shins are blue and green and purple and black. And the day I come in with a black eye is just going to be hilarious. But that sort of there's no real genuine downsides to this at all.
Who's coming to watch you on May 21?
Really surprisingly, and much to my delight, most of the guys from work. So unfortunately, my family all live or work abroad. So my parents will be tuning in from Sweden. Unrelated to the sled dogging, they moved out to Stockholm last year. And my brother works in the south of France, and he'll be on a boat somewhere in the Med. So whether he gets a chance to tune in or not, I don't know. But so all my family will be live streaming, which I think they probably prefer, because as much as my mum supports me on these things, she's struggled enough with me playing rugby as a kid. I think this is probably a step too far for her. And then I've got most of my team from work. Much to my surprise, I kind of put it out there as if you guys want to support me, and they're all coming. They're all gonna come watch. And what's real dedication and has really amazed me is, of course, they're all working that night. They all start work at 3 o'clock on Sunday morning, so they're gonna come. They'll have worked the night before. They'll have worked 3 a.m. till half 11 in the morning. That morning, they're all going to go home and sleep. They're going to come. They're coming basically just for long enough to see me fight, see me a bit afterwards, and then they've all got to go back to bed. And then they're all going to work, because I'm abandoning the team, because I'm obviously taking a couple of nights off work. So I couldn't ask for more support from outside and from the guys from work. absolutely amazing of them. I It really shocked me and really really humbled me a bit that they were all so willing to support me.
And there will be people watching this interview that aren't familiar with your story, and having listened to this, they will have heard now where you've come from and how you got into the sport. Why should they come watch you? People who maybe don't know you personally, or didn't know what was going on until now, what would you say to them? What are you bringing to the cage on May 21?
I think part of what I'm bringing is a slightly different fighter. So that I'm older, I've got a fair bit of life experience compared to most people, especially a lot of the younger guys, which I'm hoping will make it a bit of a different fight, especially as a different to most debut fights. Um, I'd like to think that self confidence and um, self awareness will show through. It might not, but I think it will be interesting. Um, if my team is anything to go by and my coaches, I kick pretty hard. So I'm hoping that comes through as well, and I think that will be a fun one to watch. I'd love to say it's going to be a lesson on the fundamentals, but that would be a bit cocky and a bit more than I could hope for. But I think it will be an interesting one to watch and an interesting debut.
You totally should say that. Keelia Scott, one to watch out for. In summary and in sort of conclusion, do you have any fighters or people or martial artists out there in any style that you look up to, or any favorites, and why?
um, Realistically, I'm really new to this. I come from, I'd not been particularly interested in fighting. I hadn't followed UFC or anything like that before I started training at this gym, and I met Natalie B and Jordan Miller, and Natalie just amazes me every single day. She has done so much for me, so much for this team. And she likes to say that she's retired now, and um, she likes to claim that she's unfit and out of practice. And my God, she did 2 rounds with me, and it just floored me what she can do. And you just watch her, and it's outstanding. And then to run this gym, run these promotions, to be a mother of 4 kids at the same time, she amazes me on so many levels. And then to combine that with Jordan, who, from a technical and skills point of view, just I'm the sort of person who will ask questions. I want to know how this works. I want to see it in practice. And he's like a walking encyclopedia of everything I could ever want to know. And so as much as I've started watching fights and started watching the UFC and won championship and things like that, I couldn't ask for more than what I get to see every day in the gym, and the knowledge that they are able to impart on me is just out of this world.
It's beautiful. That's exactly what you want, right? What you want is to have that heart where your home is, where you're going in and you're putting in the work every day, right? You want to be inspired by the people around you. If you're not inspired by the people around you, what are you doing with your life? And I think it's an amazing thing to hear. Get on the telly a little bit more often, Killia. There's a whole bunch of good stuff going on out there, though.
Oh, I would absolutely love to. I am. I'm lucky, genuinely lucky, if I manage to watch 2 hours of TV in a week, and that's and then you have to prioritize. I do, unfortunately, I do have to prioritize, and between the amount of stuff I do here, sometimes you just want to switch off and watch some, some crappy switch off TV. So maybe once the fight's over. I will find some time when I'm not training twice a day to spend one of those sessions catching up on what I've been missing out on.
Well, if we catch you watching X on the beach or anything like that, we'll know what went wrong.
Yeah.
Listen.
The rest of the team are more likely to be watching that than I am, I assure you.
Amazing. Keelia, this has been a great conversation. A real pleasure to have you on. Any other final shout outs or things when this interview goes out? Anything you want to tell people?
Yeah, just Thanks ever so much for the opportunity to talk to you today. I did want to. I'm going to do some promos for things that I've found just invaluable. Um, so uh, this is Fight Foam. So this is going to make me sound like the girl on the team with a really sensitive skin, but we've all been there rolling on mats that, despite the fact they get hoovered and washed every day, they're not the nicest. And you're rolling with some interesting people, and we're all sweaty and gross. That stuff is absolutely amazing and has saved me. Like, the risk of getting infections and things like that, not good. This antiseptic has as far as I can tell, done absolute wonders. And I do have sensitive skin. I have eczema issues, and I get no problems with it. COVID completely destroyed my skin because I was disinfecting my hands every 2 minutes, especially at work. And I've switched to this and had no problems ever since. And it's just a godsend when you are, we spend a lot of time in, sweaty hand wraps and gloves and rolling around together and grappling. So that makes a big things. And then my hand wraps are from Funky Fight Wraps. And I've tried lots of wraps before and they've been okay. I now have one in every every colour because they are just the most comfortable and most supportive wraps I've ever tried. You go through other ones and they're okay, and I love these, absolutely adore them. They come in really cute, great colours and patterns, and I match them up to whatever I'm wearing, or whatever I feel like on the day. And they're designed and made by one of the fighters here at the gym, and it's a shame he's not fighting on this one. He was on the last show. You'd have seen an absolutely incredible fight from him. And Gary, he's also the nicest guy you've ever met in your life. And so they've completely changed my opinion on hand wraps, and I wouldn't get them from anywhere else. So quick promo for some great products.
Funky Fight Wraps and Fight Foam, brought to you by Keelia Scott. How's that?
Perfect.
All right, Keelia, it's been emotional. It's been great. It's been beautiful. It's been absolutely epic. We look forward to seeing you on May 21. Good luck to you with the fight, okay?
Thanks very much. It's great to talk to you.